Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the third episode of Refactoring an Android app with our friend Rakesh. Hello Rakesh.
Hello, Uday. How are you today?
Oday is doing fine. My name is Oday. It's not Dry Culture. Dry Culture is just the name of the channel. Anyway, in the first two episodes, well, in this second episode, the one before this one, we finished the implementation of the books presenter. We tested it. We mocked our own classes and we hooked it up back to the activity along with the repository, the one that gets the information that the activity needs. So they all talk to each other. Presenter says, give me a view, give me a repository. The repository offers the books. The presenter knows what to send the view. The view is implemented inside the activity. You see a message that says there's books or there's no books. All of that is set up and goes back to the actual activity that I wrote. We took out all the code out from that activity, the one that was not implementing MVP, and now it does implement MVP. In this episode, we're going to talk about Mockito. Mockito basically helps you automate your mocking process. That's how much I know. Aside from that, so basically using Mockito, we're going to improve the state of this test we have for the presenter. How we're gonna do that, I don't know. Rakesh, you can proceed if you like.
Okay, then. Right. So the reason I thought Mockito would be good is because it's very common mocking library that's used by so many people, and one of the reasons they use it is because in the first video we were writing our own mocks here, and it can get a bit tedious to do that. And also, we've got a couple of tests now, but we're probably going to add more as we take more logic out of the activity into the presenter.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to, create more conditions that we want to create first. And it can get a bit more complicated, and it's not unusual for projects to have more test code than production code. It happens.
Really?
And also, yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, when you start making changes to your production code, it's going to mean you have to start making changes to your test code as well. So, it can get quite cumbersome. So one way around it is to try and use tools that reduce the burden of maintenance. And I quite like Mockito. It's standard in the industry, and it means that you don't have to write your own mocks like we did here. With all these flags that we were using and all this, and it does a lot of the work for you. So I thought what we should do in this video is introduce Mockito and rewrite this test.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to see the sort of test that I usually end up with in my projects.
Works.
So, yeah. So first things first is we need to get Mockito and put it in our project. So let's go to dependencies.
This is how you do it?
It's how I do it today.
I go to Gradle, the actual file.
Yes, but then you need to go and find out what the latest version is, right?
Exactly. I go to the website.
Yeah. So here's a way of doing it.
This is inside the Gradle repository in general?
This is inside Maven.
Maven.
Well, what do you mean the Gradle repository?
There is no Gradle repository. There is Maven. Okay.
Okay. Maybe that wasn't the best way of doing it, because I think there's a bug, because what it does is it screws up the build file.
Oh.
Oh dear. But you can see at the bottom, it's put it in there, and it's put it there in as test. We want it to be test compile because we only want it to be available for our tests, right?
Okay. Why don't you do Command Z and go back on this? It'll go back, I think.
Yeah, good idea. And let me just take that and get rid of that, and then Command Z. I don't think Command Z works for me, actually.
Whatever, the undo thing.
Yeah.
Or revert, I mean.
Yes. There we go.
Okay.
I cheated a bit though because
Oh,
I'd
because
already
that's
done
what
it
you had
anyway.
on the last commit. Okay.
That's what, but I wanted to show it to you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
there
that's
it
how
is.
you
But
get it.
that's how
Okay.
you get it. Anyway, we've got it now.
Okay.
So Mockito is a plugin for JUnit. So we're using plain JUnit here. So what we need to do is we need to
This is all
tell.
JUnit.
This is pure JUnit,
The
right?
annotations, everything.
Everything is pure
Oh, it
JUnit
says,
4.
okay.
Yeah, look, then there's nothing else here, right?
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is you need to introduce Mockito. There's a few different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you the way I do it. Okay. So you need to get it's called a test runner, and Mockito have written one. Was it run with? Run with, sorry, capital. And it's called Mockito. Mockito. Oh, well, it's not going to work until I sync. So
All
that's probably
right.
going to have to go. Yeah, because then it'll
How did
download the
you sync
library.
like that?
There was a try again up here.
Oh, you went and pressed on try again?
Try again. Yeah, because
I didn't see it.
the
Okay.
ID is quite good, right? It tries to detect what the problems are and says, "Do you want me to do it?" And then I said,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
but I
fine."
thought you pressed some shortcut.
No. It was there. It was in there. It was
There
at the
was
top.
someone who mentioned if we could include shortcuts. I think people do that, but it needs something to do with the recording software. Because the recording software can tell you where the mouse pressed, but I think it will
Yeah.
have to be like a specific intentional annotation on the video that you do yourself. I don't know about the
Well,
difficulty of that.
there might be a Android Studio plugin because
Oh,
I used to use one in the past, which every time you use the mouse to press on a menu item or something, it would then briefly flash up what the keyboard combination was. So
yeah.
maybe this is I think the guy in the comments was saying there might be one that goes the other way,
Uh-huh. Okay.
but I can look into that later for the next video.
Sure. Sure.
But anyway, let's see if this worked. Did it get Mockito? JUnit runner. That's what we want. Okay.
Okay.
So now we've introduced it. Now I'm going to show you how we create mocks using Mockito. So it has an annotation called mock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you declare an instance variable of the class that you want to mock, or the interface in our case. So let's do books activity view.
Oh, they were talking about the naming of this view, right? This is a view. Yes. It's either like book view or activity view, but not both together. What do you say about that?
Yeah, well, you have to remember that this was an existing application,
Hmm.
an existing app, and you'd already named it books activity.
Ah, so as
And
not
I
to
don't
jumble
know.
things up, what other things might be called books or something.
Yeah, and this might be the only activity that's called books, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know, and I didn't care too much, so I just went with the convention. Books activity view, books activity presenter, and
Yeah.
also don't forget everything is in the same directory at the moment.
Yes.
Now you can order them, and they'll all be next to each other, so that you can see that they're related.
Okay.
So renaming it to books view and books presenter we can do later.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I didn't think it was a big deal. That's why.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to replace this one, right,
Uh-huh.
with this one.
Oh, this is like butter knife and stuff like that.
Right. Now, what that should do for us, it should create this mock for us. Now, the interesting thing is we want to tell this mock how to behave when we run the test.
Can we see how the old one behaves?
Yep. So, you know what? Let's change this actually to the repository first, right?
Okay.
Because that's actually what we want to do here. Let's put that back. Ooh. put that back.
No, without the activity.
Yes, of course. Sorry, my bad. Books repository, and it's called books repository, and we want to replace this one. Now, you were saying, what does it currently do? Well, for this test, and we'll work on one at a time, right? For this test, we pass true into the constructor, and well, that tells it that we want it to return 3 books. Okay?
Yeah, so it has one method and a constructor.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the implementation. That's just what the interface is, right?
Yes.
So what we're saying is
we're going to have to emulate the same behavior.
Yes. But this time, instead of writing the code manually ourselves, writing our own implementation class, we can ask Mockito to do it for us, right?
So this means we don't need the interface at all anymore.
No. It means that we don't need the implementation class anymore. We don't need this, right? We don't have to write an implementation of the interface. We always need the interface. The interface is an important part of our production code.
That's true, because later on some other actual repository is going to be passed to the presenter along with the view.
Well, we did that in the last video, right?
Yeah, but you can't get rid of those. Then
you can't get rid of the interfaces.
You don't have an MVP then.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go up here. So the syntax is a bit funky, okay? But you get used to it, okay?
Okay.
So when you want to, so I'll show it to you first, and then I'll talk to you about it, okay?
All right.
It is a bit funky.
That's like what Picasso does. I've seen that many times.
It's called a fluent interface.
Okay. So each method returns an object of the same thing, so you can keep doing chaining.
That's what a fluent interface is, yeah.
Okay. Return 3. Okay.
Well, we want to do
but
exactly
there's an exception here. Not always 3.
Well, the point is, right? There we go. We'll come back to that. But the point is,
yeah, now you have the same thing, yeah.
So now Mockito's mock has been told, if somebody calls a book repository, I want you to return 3 books.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so easy to read.
And then we pass it into the presenter.
Pass the books repository.
Yeah,
it's passed.
Which is our special mock one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've told it what it should do only if you call this method. Okay. At the moment, we've only got one method on there, but if there was another method, then we can tell it what to do if you call that method.
With another when?
Yes, with another when. Or more importantly, let's say there's another method on books repository like get snippets, right? But this test doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, if by accident your presenter code calls get snippets, it will end up getting a null because you never told Mockito what to do
in that case
when it got calls. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's see if this works. I think this should work. Running?
Let me remember just who calls get books. It's inside load books, no?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It is, which is inside the presenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're running the test?
I'm running the tests, not just R1, all of them. Fingers crossed. Haha, and it passed.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing in the second test.
Okay, I'll tell you what to do. No, wait a minute. Before you delete this line.
I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to copy it.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do it?
The copying?
Hmm.
No, I want to check something below.
Sure.
Here. This else and the flag.
Yes. Yes.
They're not in the. They're not here.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, okay. Go on.
Okay. So I'm going to change the second test now to do this to use our Mockito mock. Okay. But this time we want it to return an empty list, correct?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as we were doing before?
Yeah.
Collections.empty list. Yeah. Okay. It's fine. Right. Now, again, what we're saying here is we're saying when books repository.getBooks is called, then return an empty collection for this test.
For this test. Now you don't have to have the branching inside the.
Well, let's run this and see what happens. Now, hopefully that one passes, and then.
Are you gonna explain this, right? Because.
Yes, I'm going to come back and explain it all.
Okay.
Right. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Right, green.
Okay.
Now, this is the bit that you're going to love.
Here
Ready?
we go. Yes. Ah, you can get rid of it all. Wow.
It's gone.
Just one line?
It's all gone. Yeah, because you know all the flags and all that stuff. We had to do all that because we were doing it all manually. But really, all we want to say is we just want to say, look, when you call the books repository, then do this thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So I think we can do the same thing with the view.
Yeah, but what are you gonna have it say? A new mock view. Display books.
So I think you can see how it's going to go, right? Okay, can I just step back 1 minute, because I think there's something that's really important about the life cycle of a test that we should just cover. Okay. JUnit runs a bit strangely. Okay, and what happens is that when you write this class like it is now, what it actually does is it doesn't create. What it does is it creates one class per test. Does that make sense?
Aside from the mocks that you wrote, for example.
No, I'm talking at a high level. Don't worry about mocks for the time being. So, you could have a class and it says, oh, maybe it might be an idea to do it. Then you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, named after the test you created. Okay.
My point here is just to say that here's a class with some tests in it. Doesn't matter what the tests are about, right? Doesn't matter.
All right.
But the point is, here's a test class that we wrote, and it's got a couple of tests in it. And we run that, and hopefully it all should go green. And then I'm going to show you something.
In the gen file?
Gen file?
Gen folder? The generated stuff?
What generated stuff?
I don't know. Go on.
So this is some vanilla test I just wrote. There's two test methods in there. So at runtime, what happens is that JUnit looks at this class and it creates instances, right? And it'll actually create two instances of the class at runtime. And each instance will have one of the tests in it, one of the test methods, which is really screwed up and not obvious, right? And okay, and here's the proof, right? So let's take that out actually. What we're going to do is we're going to do
Okay.
what do you think that's going to print?
2.
How many times?
Twice.
And why do you think that is?
It's gonna run the first.
If I run all the tests.
Yeah, runs the first test. Oh.
Yeah.
Ew. 2, then 3. No, wait. It becomes 2 first. The second one assigns what was 2 before to 2 now. So 2 twice. There you go. I'm a pro.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you say it wasn't going to be 2, 3?
Because it's a new assignment. If it was 1,000, it will assign it to some new thing now. It's not adding to it. It's not plus equal, it's equal.
Right. That's not true.
What do you mean it's not true? What's not true about it?
Because I assign, so when this runs, the value of check me is
1.
Then I add 1 to it.
Fine.
So now the value of check me is 2.
Mm-hmm.
It is, because look, I printed it.
Yes.
So the question is, why is it not 2 here?
Oh, it's using the check me. It's supposed to be using the check me that's at that moment 2. This should be 3.
Yes.
Oh.
But it's not.
Yeah. Because it's not aware. This guy, someone is not aware of this initialization. It's 2 classes.
It's 2 classes at runtime.
Yeah,
yes, you're right. And have you ever heard of testng?
No.
It's another library like JUnit. And the guy who wrote it because he said that when he found that JUnit was doing weird things that wasn't Java, he thought he's going to write his own version that follows proper Java principles, right? But this is something that really confuses a lot of people who are new to testing and to JUnit. Because what actually happens is that the authors of JUnit thought it was so important that what happens in one test doesn't get affected by what happens in another test.
Of course.
They want that to really, but they took it to the next level.
Because this is not like you're not writing a program. Each test should test the thing it's concerned with. This is not a program.
And not care about anything else, right?
Yeah.
So what actually happens is that when this code runs, instead of creating one class, it creates 2 classes, 2 instances, right? And each instance will have their own check me, which is 1. So that's why it's always this happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you have to be careful that doesn't catch you out, right? The way that you can get them to share information.
That's what the word static means. Okay.
Yes, because now it's associated with the class, not the instance.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's important, you just know that JUnit has a very weird way of running like that.
Okay.
And just in case it catches you out. But really, you shouldn't be sharing things, right?
Yeah,
Between
that's true.
tests, it's not great. But we
So
are
now
going to
it's
be
two,
sharing
three.
things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're not supposed to really do that stuff, right? But I just wanted to show you that
That's cool.
JUnit's a bit weird.
Yeah, keep saying those things that that give you insight about how things actually work, because
Sure.
usually.
Don't ask me how Mockito works though, because I don't know.
Okay, I won't.
It's just magic. It's just magic,
So
right?
how did this come up as a topic now as you're doing it? You were about to reuse something?
Yeah, because what I wanted to let you know is that because of the way JUnit runs, each test is isolated,
Yeah,
right?
but how did that come up in the conversation in this case? Were you about to use the same instance somewhere else,
Yes.
like Books repository? You are using it.
I am. This is shared, right? This is
Yeah,
shared because I got rid of the other one, right?
yeah.
So it's shared. But you don't have to worry about the fact that I did this here, then I did this here on the same one, because they're not actually at runtime the same instance.
Yeah, that's it. They're not going to
Doesn't
conflict in this case. No, they're not adding
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. But that's not immediately obvious,
Yeah.
right? People, because they think that, look, that's an instance variable. It must be sharing state between the two tests. So if I do something there to it, then it must apply here.
Oh, he
That's
thinks
not
that
true.
maybe you can accumulate the results of one test into the
Exactly.
other. No. Okay.
Exactly, right? If you want that behavior,
You say
there's a certain
static.
way of doing it, right? Which I can show you. But it's just because JUnit is doing weird things like that. So I'm wondering, let's get rid of the other mock.
The
The
view,
other mock
the
here, the view mock, yeah.
view. Okay.
Okay, and that'll
Okay.
show you the other half of how Mockito works. So this is priming the mock. Do you know what that means? Priming it.
I
It's
can
like setting
conclude
it up.
it's setting it up. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then the other half is checking, right? So we want to check something, right?
You're checking what? You're constructing now another one.
Yes, because we have two mocks in our test, right? So now we have one of these, right? Now you see how we had to use the flag and all that stuff, and and casting and all that to check.
Okay.
Instead, Mockito will create a mock for us, and then we can ask Mockito, was the method called?
Was what method?
In this case, was the display books with books called, or
This
whatever
is a
that
flag.
display books, that one.
Yeah.
No, the flags are there for us, so we know this method was called.
Ah,
right?
you can ask
Well,
directly if the method was
you
called.
can ask it directly. Did someone call this?
Okay.
And what did they call it with?
You don't need to. Oh, what they called with with.
Yeah, you don't need them. You don't need it.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let me show you that. Right. So what you say is you say Mockito dot and what you need to say is verify. Okay. And you say view dot. Now, what do we want? We want to display with books, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's do. So now we want to say, were you called with an array of book lists?
Okay.
Okay.
So you can do. So you want access to the books, the full books that were returned by the first mock.
Yeah. So one way to do that is we can pull this out.
Oh, you're gonna have to make it again. Okay.
And say book list. Okay.
Okay.
And then you can say book list.
All right.
Okay.
But can't you, like, I mean, with the books repository instance, the mock above, Do you know that the above line, like line 29 right now, do you know that it was called? It's a when, it's not necessarily called. Because if it's called, then books repository will return. So it does have the book list inside it, or just returns it. It doesn't assign it to something specific to itself.
I think what you're touching on is actually quite it's quite deep what you're asking.
Yeah,
Okay?
bro, I'm very deep.
You are very deep. And this is sort of like the whole point of this, right? Is there's two styles of verification. Okay. When I say verification, I mean like, when it comes to checking whether your test worked or not, there's two styles. One is called behavior checking, I think, right? So that's where we say, was this method called?
Okay.
Right. Another way is state-based, right? So maybe the method that we're calling returns something, and we just check what it returned. Did it return 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go full circle on the test, because the
So
other
really,
one. Yeah. What?
What you want to do is you want to set up these things so that the only way it will pass is if the production code called the methods that you expect it to call. If it doesn't call get books, right, then the test shouldn't pass.
Yeah, but here it will pass, even if the above one wasn't called.
That's not true. Right.
Why?
Now,
You're
because
feeding it a generated on the spot list. Wait, you changed it. Oh.
Well, we've already written the production code. And the production code talks to the books repository and calls get books. So we know it's going to call this method.
There's no sense in trying to circumvent. You're writing the thing. There's no prevention to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's see if that works, yeah?
Uh-huh.
I think it should work.
Yeah, it's gonna work. Granted that verify does what it says it does.
Well, the only issue is this thing here. Will
Yeah.
it know that they're the same book list? It should know that it's going to call equals on it. And they should be equal, but I'm not. It's a bit weird with equals, but we'll see. We'll see. It should pass. No, it didn't. Oh, what's it saying? Argument passed to verify.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Naughty.
you kept that one. Oh.
Naughty, naughty. You should have caught that for me.
Yeah, it was obvious.
Yeah, look, that one was going in here.
Yeah,
so
of course.
There was the wrong mock.
It's the wrong objects completely, yeah.
Yeah, and that was creating a different array list of 3. Remember?
That one. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's good, right? There's 2 array lists of 3, and they're not going to equal each other. So that's good. Oh, now what's wrong? It's because we don't need this either. Oh, man,
I'm sorry.
Because
I'm taking it for granted that because they're passing all the time.
Because I'm doing so much talking, I'm sort of, getting a bit.
Now it works for 100%.
Well, let's see. It's
100%.
Yes.
See.
Sorry, my bad. We are replacing this. And we're replacing this.
Yeah.
Right? Right. Now, do you want to do this one?
All of it? Yeah, okay, fine. So we're gonna use the instances above.
Correct. So we need to get rid of that line.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, I'll do it. So this is the books activity view. It's a new mock view. We don't need that because we have this guy called view.
Correct.
Alright, let's just minimize this. Okay, so and we removed no, this has nothing to do with it. This is the presenter. So we're gonna say Mockito dot like, let me think what I need to do here. This one says should handle no books found. Yeah, okay, I can write the same one you wrote above, but okay, never mind. I got it. This one tests for no books.
Correct.
So what we do is display no books with, it's not expecting something. It should expect
No,
something.
it's not.
The nothing. It should be, okay, to be called with no params. But that's not the
Correct.
case. You're calling it with params, which are an empty list.
Show me.
Yeah,
Show
that's
me
not
the
true.
interface method. It's not true.
That's not true.
It's not true.
Let's go
Now
to
you need to
this
get rid
one.
of.
Method display, implements. Yeah, I want to see that other one. The interface.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to click on the interface itself,
here.
which is online. No, that's a presenter.
That's a presenter.
You want to click on the view.
I
The
want
interface, sorry.
Okay. So
There it is, yeah.
here.
There. Yeah.
Display no books.
See?
Okay, fine.
Takes
Fine.
nothing.
To us, it means an empty list.
No.
No, not even. The
Not
empty
even.
list was passed way before. As a result of the empty list, we then called a display no books with no parameters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So that
Right.
we just want to check if that thing was called. We know backwards that what happened up until that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it.
So you need to get rid of line 45.
And that's, we remove this. How do we remove this? Okay. And this is gone as well. Mockito when, and then we take this out. And that's it. And then we
Run
do
your test.
What, Control Shift R?
Yep. No. Control Shift F10.
Oh. No, it changes, it removes the voice here. How can I just say from here? There we go.
Yeah, or you can. Okay, yeah, but that'll only run. I think that runs them individually.
Okay, I can say here.
Go to the top.
Here it is.
Yeah, that one. Yep, correct.
Yeah, this needs a sitting. Like, I mean, the concepts are there, very good, and I understand what's going on perfectly. But you need to like sit down and try more, I guess. Not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, they all passed.
Hey.
So that's.
So.
Yeah.
What I mean, this is okay. So my question really is, are you okay with what we did? Because now look how there's less code now. And a lot of the code that we have here is very, at least from the outside, it looks straightforward and simple.
Yeah, because what you had to understand in the first one was complicated. So I had to understand what was going on in the classes. Now I don't have to. Like, I just say basically when,
like the flags,
like regardless of what Mockito the word means, I just read it like when books repository.get books is called, return a full book list. You know, that's what happens in my application.
Yeah.
Because I'm testing that case. And then with the presenter, call the view, give it that repository, regardless of what's happening here. And then verify that this one, from the view, verify that the views method, which is called display books, was called with that book list that I just returned.
Yeah.
Or with, not the one that I just returned, but with a full book list.
Well, it needs to be the one from 27, right? Line 27.
Sure. In our case, it says because there are three, but we were testing three.
Yeah.
But in the real life, like this doesn't apply to my code. This first one, my code says n books,
Hmm.
right?
But the interesting thing is the presenter doesn't actually care how many there are.
But you can't be
Your
testing
code.
for three.
Well, the thing is, right, in computer science, right, there's three types of values, right?
Yeah.
Generally. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to say this, and I'm probably wrong, and somebody's probably going to give me shit for it, but there's three types of value. There's no value,
Uh huh.
there's one value,
Uh huh.
or there's many values.
Yeah. My case is many.
Right,
Or
exactly.
one.
So if there's 3 books or there's 5 books, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, that's
So I picked
true.
3. I picked 3. The reason I picked 3 is because if there's one, sometimes you can just assume there's one and just get one. If there's 2, then you can do an if condition, right?
Okay.
If this, then that, right?
Uh huh.
But if there's more than 2, you're forced to then think about the general case.
Yeah. It's you have to.
Right. And I think that's better when you're aiming for things like collections and things, right? Because
Okay.
if you don't know what the collection is going to, the only things you care about in a collection are whether it has anything in it or whether it has lots of things in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I write the code for lots of things, it's going to cover one.
And yeah.
Yeah. And as for 0, it's quite nice with 0 as well, because you could do a for loop and it just doesn't run. It doesn't blow up. It just doesn't run inside the for loop if there's 0.
Yeah.
And if you know that, then you can write your code to expect that behavior, which is quite nice, rather than, what a lot of people do is they return null. Don't return null, especially a collection. When your code is expecting a collection, don't return null.
Because
Just
that
return an
means
empty
that
collection.
might mean different things.
Yeah, it probably means something blew up, right?
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing, right? And also, generally speaking, let's try not to create nulls and pass them around if we can avoid it.
Yeah, I never count on null. I start with null. I
Yeah,
check for null if after the initialization or after like grabbing some object that was sent to me from another activity. If it's still null, there's a big problem. I don't use
Yeah.
it casually.
Yeah.
Like I halt, I stop.
Yeah. And if we get an opportunity in these videos, then I can introduce you to the null object pattern as well, which is something I do now and then as well. So we
Okay.
can come back to some other point. Okay, so let's carry on cleaning this test up, refactoring this test to be.
There's still stuff.
Yes, there's still stuff. Now, can you see any lines of duplication?
Yeah, the presenter.
So what we should do is we should make it a field.
Yeah, you can do that. I can do that. Wow, a field above?
Well, yes, it will be a field above. Then my question to you is, we can use setup.
Where?
Oh, what happened?
It made it a field. That's it.
Yeah, but what happened to setup? Oh dear. Okay, didn't do setup. I can do setup. So
this is what set up and tear down means.
yes.
I always hear those terms when it's about testing.
The other thing is private, public for these fields. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody's going to call them, right? Nobody's going to call them. If it's less code, then just take it out, right? Now, we need to initialize this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't just create one. You got to new it up. But you can't new it up without the other two, right? So what we normally do is we create a setup.
So how's the setup? It's gonna get like early access to them.
Yes.
Huh.
Why have I just completely forgotten?
Try the setup option again.
Yeah, let's do that again. Let's get rid of that. Oh, that's interesting. It didn't even actually do what I wanted it to do. Okay. So anyway, we do control Alt Command F for me to make it a field. Then I say do it in the setup method. Then I press enter, and then it does it for me. There we go.
Oh, there it
So it's
is.
called before.
Oh.
Annotation is before. The convention is set up because this is from the JUnit 3 days when if you called your method certain things, then it would expect it. So if you called it setup, then it would do it before the annotations came along. It doesn't really matter what you call that.
What about the
But the
exception?
point is, sorry?
What about the exception?
Yeah, it's just boilerplate. Get rid of it if you want.
Okay,
It's just
because
the
it's
ID
not.
put that in there. The ID
Okay.
put it in. And generally speaking, you do want to bubble up exceptions if there's something goes wrong with your test anyway.
But it knows that it should print it
Print.
because it's gonna
Print
say null. It's gonna say exception, because it's of
Yeah,
no
I mean,
type, you know.
it will have a type. You'll see a stack trace in
But you're throwing
here, right?
just exception.
No, you're saying that the method could throw an exception.
Or you're not specifying the type of exception.
Well, you can't. Well, the exception is at the top of the exception is at the top of the tree, right? It's like the general.
Super class.
Yeah, the superclass.
Okay.
Right. So it could be any of its children, of which there are many.
Whoa. Yeah? So what if you say inside the code, throw exception?
Then it will throw that. Oh yeah, which one?
Any code. It will throw the appropriate exception, regardless if you wanna, like. What about when in the code when I say, when the IDE prompts me to say wrap using try catch, right?
Yes.
Inside the catch, you have to have the appropriate type of exception that this method throws.
Correct.
For it to pass the compile.
Yes.
So,
but the code that you're calling defined the exception.
It's forcing me here. No, nothing is forcing me. It's just.
Yeah, but also don't forget nobody's calling the method. You're not calling the method.
Yeah.
It's all done for you by the framework, right?
So if you were to take this thing out and you say throws number format exception, for example, and you go to call setup from some other place, it's gonna tell you wrap and try catch exception, and then you're gonna have to provide a number format exception to catch, right? If you specify it explicitly. Like, it's a case that's not gonna happen.
I think the stuff about exceptions here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about exceptions after we finish this.
Okay.
And then we talk about how we do testing for exceptions in our code.
Okay.
Okay. But whether this throws it here, yeah. That's just a general way of sometimes, if we called a method and the method throws an exception, and then it would make us do the try catch like you said. But we don't want to do a try catch in our tests.
No, naturally, yeah. I'm just trying to understand.
So the way to get around that is to basically put this here. So then our code doesn't need a try catch here.
Yeah, because no one is gonna call it either way.
Exactly. So, but we can talk about exceptions
later,
a bit later, right? Okay. So now what will happen is, and JUnit takes responsibility for this because it controls the lifecycle, right? Is it will call this method before each of the tests.
Because it knows that it's making two classes.
Correct.
They know what they did.
Yeah, they know what they did, right?
Okay.
So, right. Why is this not happy? Access can be private. No, whatever. No big deal. Anyway, so can you see where's that coming from? We don't need that. How's that looking?
I think you can place the load books inside there as well.
No, can't do that.
Because no, you can't. It's not gonna figure out which load books. Why can't you?
Because that's the thing we're testing. Before we call load books, we need to be able to do something.
Oh, this runs before. No. It has to run after this line 35.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's when we're still setting up the conditions,
Yeah.
and then we call our code.
Yeah, that's
So
part
we
of the
can't
test. Okay.
put it up there. Yeah, it's part of the test.
Okay.
And you see this thing given when then.
Yeah.
That's really like, I just always
You
like.
already did that in the Mockito line. Ah, no, you did the when part.
So how's it looking now?
Yeah,
Okay.
much easier.
Okay. And the other thing is, I know this is not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But I also might make that field. Because you never know,
In the
right, when
setup.
you might need to use that for another one.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't bother because I know for a start that that's created once and never touched, never changed.
Yeah.
So, big deal, not big deal. What do you think?
It created it as a field.
I asked it to.
Alright, so but you can
So now there's
also
less in
place
here.
it inside the setup. But it doesn't make sense because the second one doesn't need it.
Well, the reason I didn't put it in the
Both
setup
are gonna get
is
it.
both are going to get it. And look, it's already created. And because I don't change it, it's not a big deal, right? It just needs to be created once.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Right. But if you do stuff like this, right,
Uh-huh.
then, okay, I'm going to do something else, right? I'm going to do the static imports.
Okay. Now that's some clean code, bro.
Well, I was going to say to you, look at this final version now
Yeah,
compared to where we started.
it was horrendous. No, it was cool. It's like comparing an old gym with old equipment to a brand new gym with new equipment. 'Cause that's what I'm facing now. I changed gyms. I'm at the old
Okay.
one now. Feeling
Okay.
the blood and sweat. Okay.
So the next thing I want to say to you is that these tests, when I'm writing tests, I really try and make the test look good.
I think
Right?
you do that with all
More
code,
than,
bro.
yeah, I do, but I'm really obsessed with the tests looking good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I do that is because
You
the
don't
next
write
guy comes along,
documentation.
right? You don't write documentation, right? And this should be your documentation.
It's very clear.
And
This is all
it
I
should,
need. I don't want to read words in English about what you're expecting the program to do. Just tell me in code. And there's no way to do it unless you do this.
and aiming to make readable code is really, 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 really important to me.
Yeah.
Okay. To the point that I might even do something like this, right? I might say,
Yeah, because if you're way down there and you say book list, there's a chance where it can be empty.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, more importantly, you see books list, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're like, well, what about it?
Now you have to account for it being filled.
Yeah, I mean, you can go up and you can see that it's filled, whatever. But then you can just read this and go, oh, look, I'm going to return many books. I don't really care about the details,
Uh-huh.
right? And I can just read it and I can see it there and I can say, oh, okay, I'm going to return many books, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to return an empty list here.
I see.
Yeah. Because it's more readable to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anyway, happy?
Yeah, very happy. Does that cover all of? Well, it doesn't cover all of Mockito, but at least the
It
very
doesn't cover all of
introduction.
Mockito. It just does the very basics of when and verify.
Yeah, I
And I
think we
think
got a
over
winner
time,
here.
yeah, I
So,
think so too. How are we doing for time?
uh, it's 54 minutes. That's pretty good.
Do you want me to quickly show you exceptions?
Exceptions? I think it'll take a longer time.
It might do. It might do, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Should we
very
do
good
that?
what we did today. I mean, if people just start with this, it's much better, but I don't think I would have understood what the purpose of these when and verify stuff were if I didn't see the first ones.
Exactly. We had to go through that initial painful process. Sorry.
Because now
And
I'm gonna
also,
say, teach me testing someone, and they say you have to mock. How do I mock? Use Mockito. Okay, why am I mocking? You know?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I know it was a bit painful, but going through that, process of doing it manually, step by step, and then getting to this point, I think is quite useful.
Yeah,
And now you understand it. You understand why we're doing what we're doing.
I do. Well, thanks a lot, man. I think that wraps it
You're welcome.
up. We did what we said we would do, and in the next episode, we'll tell you when that happens. Okay?
Yes.
See you later, guys. See you in the next one. Leave the comments below. Tell us what you think. It's really important to keep these series going on with a higher quality. And I hope you learned something today. I know I did. Thanks, Rakesh.
No problem.
All right. See you later, guys. Goodbye.
Bye.